Hey, we're back again. Going into the divisional round. Don, how we feeling?
Uh, I feel just fine. How are you feeling?
I am getting better by the day.
That's
I'm
probably not a good.
stressed,
Probably not a good thing.
but I think I'm coming to terms with everything here.
The end of your season. That's good.
Well, not necessarily that. Let's just not get carried away. Um,
We're just being honest. So
that's unnecessary. Just because we hurt your feelings last week doesn't mean
oh no, you didn't hurt
you
my
get to lash out.
my feelings were hurt by you. They're hurt by my team. That's different.
Whatever. You're lashing out, and I don't like it.
I'm not lashing
Being
out. We're
aggressive.
we're just having an honest conversation at the end of the day. All right. So let's
Well, let's start with, yeah, I was gonna say let's start with
let's
the yearly time slot here.
let's start with
Houston at 4:30 on Saturday.
death taxes. He's in a 425 every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the interesting note in this. I don't know how much it's going to play into anything. In the last 10 games, the Chiefs have played at 425. No, no, I'm sorry. The last 10 games Chiefs have played, they've played twice at 425 and have lost both of those games. Just a little nugget there.
I
I don't
mean,
think it matters. It's just
no,
interesting.
I think that's cute more than anything.
Yeah, I
But
don't think it's going to play a factor at all into this game.
no, I mean, I think the Texans could. I mean, if Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson get going again like they did last week,
Yeah.
um, they could, keep it fairly close. But um, at that and with Chiefs starters 2 weeks off,
Mm-hmm.
break off, shake off the rust a little bit, kind of thing, if anything, and it's close for a half. But the last time these two teams played in the playoffs,
82 points was
the well, yeah, and it was 24-0, and then the Chiefs proceeded to rattle off how many
50,
unanswered?
50 points. It's not
Yeah,
unanswered necessarily, but they outscored them in the second half 51-7. So
yeah.
that's disgusting.
So, which was insane. And I actually do remember making some money off of that because I waited until the Chiefs were, I waited until halftime to bet on that game. And then I bet the Chiefs to win that when they were down 24-0. And that was just a nice little payday, which was insane.
Yeah.
But regardless, this is good for Houston. You made Justin Herbert look like he had no idea what was going on out there. I don't think that's going to happen again here.
I highly doubt it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So Chris Jones is going to be back. He's going to have 2 straight weeks of rest now because he took off. Oh, he was out against the Steelers, and I'm sure he didn't play against Denver. So he might be on like 3 weeks rest, 4 weeks of rest now, which is for him that's awesome. So I'm sure he's playing.
I mean, everybody is. I mean, Mahomes just had a baby and he's had 2 weeks off. Travis Kelce said, "I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22."
Did he actually say that?
He said he felt like he was 22, but it was close enough. I mean, it was the T-Swizzy thing. It was right there. I think it was implied without actually saying it. But, missed opportunity by him. I'll take that and run with it. But, yeah, I mean, this game's at, 8.5 point spread.
It'll be interesting. I mean, it's not going to be that interesting.
Not really.
Unless CJ
nice little tune-up game for the Chiefs here going into the championship weekend.
Unless Stroud finds like his momentum here, because they won last week, but it's not because of him.
Right.
So
I mean, he had a few good plays, a couple nice drives and everything that. But
yeah, I just mean like the offense didn't win that game last week. That's what I mean. And they would, regardless of how well their defense is going to play in this one, they still need their offense to produce at a better clip than they did last week. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can produce that. I don't think he will, especially with Kansas City basically being at full health, and Chris Jones is a run-stopping machine, so Joe Mixon probably isn't going to get going on offense, which they're going to be forced to then throw the ball a little bit more.
And that secondary has been good all year. So yeah, it's a real steep uphill battle here for the Texans. I think they could potentially mess around and keep it close, but
Sure,
that's about it.
sure. Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout by any means. I just think they're going to have a difficult time winning this game. But I mean, I said that same thing last week about them and the Chargers, and they proved me wrong.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different of a beast though here, unfortunately. As
It's
much as I
definitely
like the Chargers and I like
it's a
Herbert,
much different beat. Yeah.
Mahomes in the playoffs is not the same as Justin Herbert in two playoff games. So
I mean, shit, I would definitely love for Houston to slay this dragon, but
oh, for sure, that'd be awesome.
they played 3 weeks ago on Saturday, and we saw exactly what happened. So
yeah,
just food for thought.
yeah, no, going to be a rough one there. All right, moving on to the night game. This one again, we got an 8.5 point spread. However, Cardiac Commanders.
Sure.
I don't see this one being a blowout.
I
think this one has a better chance to be close throughout than
I disagree.
the Chiefs Texans
because
game.
Kansas City has played down to their opponents a lot of this season. Like a lot of this season. Like games that were much closer than they ever should have been. Whereas Detroit has blown their opponents out at a much higher rate, regardless of how good or not good they were. So it's kind of where I disagree. Yes, Washington has been playing better, especially on the defensive side of the football. But Detroit, weeks 18, downs Minnesota, who has a top 5 defense in the NFL, by a very, very easy margin. So I definitely would be less surprised if this one was a blowout rather than Kansas City and Houston.
No, I just feel like Jaden Daniels has been great all year.
No, I'm not.
Outside of, and that's what I mean is just like I know you're not like taking anything away from them with that. I just think that with
here we go
again, still the injuries on the Detroit side, but also that part. But not even just that. Like when Jaden Daniels has been healthy this year, he's been fantastic. They're playing with house money. There's no pressure on this team at all. Like it's the ultimate, they have nothing to lose.
They're
going to be playing free football. Goff is inconsistent in the playoffs, to say the least, in his career. Was good last year, but for his career has been fairly up and down.
You're also comparing him in a different system prior to this. You have to look at him
I get that.
In that realm. You can't go, well, this is how he looked in LA in a completely different system because they were on the road a lot of that stretch when they went to the Super Bowl. So like that's a completely different type of Goff than what we're getting now. It's also fun.
I know. I'm just playing the history card of like
sure, but again,
him in the playoffs.
I don't think history is going to play a big factor into this weekend at all because
it's entirely possible.
Yeah. And again, Jaden Daniels has been my favorite player this season. Like I expected him coming in to perform well. He was my offensive rookie of the year pick. I thought he was going to do better than the large amount of rookies on the offensive side of the ball that we were seeing. And obviously he's been phenomenal, both in the run game and in the pass game. And he's lit a fire under Washington in the same way that C.J. Stroud did to Houston last year, pushed them to the playoffs. Difference is he won a game. He's going further. I just think that no matter what you do, Detroit is going to handle business at the end of the day. Their offense is too consistent.
Again, I think they win this game, but I just think that the Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are going to just, make it a little bit more stressful than it needs to be.
I'm not maybe for a quarter. Bo Nix made it stressful in Buffalo for a drive. How are we actually talking?
I think the Commanders are a better team than the Broncos.
So do I. I'm not denying that, but I think that with the way that Detroit has played their opponents throughout the year, that's kind of where I land. Because I think Minnesota's a better team than Washington was. but that didn't matter. In
No, I
both
get
games.
that.
Yeah.
I just think that Daniels has shown more composure than Darnold in that sense, or than a Bo Nix. I mean, they have, what, 5, 6 now wins at the gun this year?
I don't know. Maybe.
It's something like that. It's like 5 or 6 now, including the last week.
I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be that close. I mean, I told you the other day, I foresee both Saturday games being pretty going
Fair
away.
enough.
I mean, and it's nothing against
I would
Washington
take both the favorites
Houston.
in this, but
yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Sunday games should be much more fun.
Yeah, I think the Sunday games are two interesting ones. We're probably going to talk about here a little bit longer because we're going to probably have a little bit more disagreements on these teams.
So Rams headed to Philly.
Yes.
And a bunch of snow, potentially. Allegedly.
It's probably going to be a bunch, but there'll be snow.
Sure. We're getting some snow right now. 60% chance on Sunday there. I don't know how much it's saying it's supposed to be, but
hold on, let me look.
Let's just look.
I've been watching it.
Ooh, 5.15 inches of wintry mix.
Okay, so
expected on Sunday, starting at noon.
Rain, snow.
Mostly snow, I think. Snow, maybe some sleet, but regardless, shitty weather. Which
4 to 5. Interesting.
Makes me a little bit more stressed.
For you? Yeah.
For me. However, again, I still like the Rams in this game.
I don't. I worry. I'm much more concerned. If you look at Matt Stafford in cold weather conditions and snowy conditions, it's like night and day difference. And I'll say this even further. If you're going to tell me like Saquon versus Kyron, I'm going to lean Saquon every single time. And I love Kyron Williams. If you're going to tell me I have to rely on one to get the ground game going, it's Saquon 11 times out of 5. So if that's where I'm leaning, that's where I'm going to hedge. And then on top of that, you're going to compare secondaries and whatnot and throwing the ball if that happens in this game. Again, I'm probably going to lean Philly just a little bit in that manner. So it's really going to come down to how well the ground game gets going at the end of the day. And if you can even throw the ball in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at this. Stafford has only played in 2 games under 40 degrees since he's been with the Rams.
Which is not good.
Right. Hold on, let me...
Yeah. And I mean, he played in the dome.
However, he has played well in cold weather, even going back to the Detroit days. He's only thrown for 500 yards once, and that was in Green Bay when it was 31 and snowy. He threw for 520. 2020, he threw for 402 yards in Chicago.
With LA in that time frame. I guess
let me find that spot.
Because there was a statistic I saw the other day that
he's gone 1-1 in the 2 games that he's played. In 2021 in Green Bay, threw for 302 yards and a loss to Green Bay.
Okay.
And then back in week 16 this year when they played the Jets, where
they won
that was game. Still they won that game 19-9. He only threw for 110 yards, but that was like at the end of the season here where the Rams offense was just kind of they looked more like they were just getting out healthy versus actually trying to play football.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to I don't know if I'm going to be able to find what I read the other day, but it was quite interesting. So,
but here's the other thing with Stafford, though. I mean, regardless of the weather stuff, he is his playoff career. He's got a 103 rating, 17 touchdowns, 6 picks in 9 games. So obviously, he's never been scared to throw a pick anyway.
No, he's
But
never afraid of.
where is it? All right, we're not going to give me his passing yards per game here. Huh. Ah. Averages 297 yards a game in the playoffs.
It's pretty good.
That's, I think, fairly decent.
Yeah, I think here's my main issue with this whole game is you're going cross country on a short week, and then you have to go into a not ideal weather condition and expect to perform at a higher rate than what you're probably needing. Because
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if it was better conditions, I might lean like LA in this one. However, that's not what we're looking at.
That's the only thing that I think is throwing a wrench into it a little bit is the weather.
Yeah, even if it
But
was
again,
raining, I'd still probably lean Philly. I think the weather is going to play a major factor in this game and how they perform.
I just think that this Rams front seven is a very different animal, especially right now, the way they've been
Think
playing.
that Philly front five is a different animal.
I think that that game's going to be
it's not
very
like you're
evenly
up against
matched.
Minnesota's beaten up offensive line. You're going up against the best offensive line in the country, and it's not.
No, I understand that, but I mean, you go back again the last month of the year, and or what is it now? The last 5 weeks, the Rams have not given up double digits.
Yeah, and then you go back to when they played Philly last, and they got
throttled. No, I understand. They did.
Like, absolutely throttled in that game.
Yeah.
Trust me, I love the Rams. Big Rams fan, big Rams proponent. And you would not know that given what we talk about on this show. I think part of that is I'm somewhat of a football pessimist when it comes to my teams. And I'm a realist, hardcore. That's why I talk the way I talk, and you talk the way you talk, because you are not a realist. So, in this realm, it scares me, given what I've seen from them every single year. Now, if they were at home, or if it was, even if it was Detroit this week, I might lean the Rams in Detroit. However, it's not Detroit this week. You're going to Philly. It's cold, traveling across country, and historically, Sean McVay doesn't win in Philly. I talked about this when they played in Week 13.
I mean, he does do well going across east, country. Though.
I'm not talking. Yeah, I'm talking specifically Philly.
Let me look at that.
You can. I would know though.
No, I know. I'm just.
That is one I know for sure. Unfortunately, because there was a point where it was Jared Goff against Carson Wentz, and that was a big heated thing.
Hold on.
But yeah, I think
we're not showing me that against the Eagles there, but
there's a lot of
Sirianni has beaten McVay 2 times. He's 2-0 against them.
One of those was in LA. The other one was in Philly this past year.
Hold on.
There you go.
Which one? 2020. That's from years ago. Oh, hell. Not giving me a whole bunch to work with here. All right.
Go ahead. You talk for a minute. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find McVay's record.
I'll pull it up. You talk.
Yeah. Again, I just think that McVay in the playoffs is a different beast. They were massive underdogs last year against the Lions. They lose by a point. He has his teams ready more often than not. I think in the playoffs he's going to have a lot more dialed up against the Eagles than he did, a month ago
Okay.
in Philly. It's still just, I have so much more faith in McVay and Stafford than I do in Sirianni and Jalen
Sure.
Hurts. And then
Sure.
after watching last weekend, how the Eagles just, for whatever reason, didn't want to take control of a game where they were spotted for turnovers and
Yeah.
starters getting hurt, and they just sat there and played with their food. This team is never really buttoned up.
Okay.
And I think if they're not buttoned up early, like, they're going to be in a position where they're going to have to rely on Hurts, and he hasn't shown that to me this year.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I fall on this one, where if they're messing around at all for 3 quarters, the Rams will take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Like, the Eagles need to be dialed in from the jump.
All right. So I found history. Sean McVay against the Eagles total is 1-4. His one and only win is at home.
Mm-hmm.
Every other instance has been in Philly, and he has not won once. In fact, it's 43-35 in 2017, 30-23 in 2018, 23-14 2023, and then 37-20 in 2024.
I feel like that might be the only team he doesn't play well against, or he does not play well. Struggles with outside of the East Coast teams, because he's insanely good at covering.
And again, I'm not talking about East Coast teams in general. I'm talking about Philly. Philly is.
I understand that. I get that.
0-4 in Philly. It's like Mike Tomlin going to the Raiders. Mm-hmm. He's losing. Pencil it in. It's happening.
That's fair.
It's unfortunate that I am looking at the numbers. I'm not saying it won't be close. I'm not saying anything else. I'm just saying history does not bode well for LA in this game. This is the only game that I might lean history on. Well, just because I know how McVay does in Philly historically.
Trends are meant to be broken, so.
We've said that how many times this year, and we were wrong.
That's true. But
I don't think any trend was broken this year.
It's going to happen at some point.
Probably not this week.
All right, and then we got the night game here.
The one where
you and I can yell at each other about.
There's really no yelling. It's just, I think Buffalo's going to win, and you think Baltimore's going to win, and that's that. There's no really ifs, ands, or buts within this game. I think Buffalo has the upper hand. It's going to be another cold weather game. Lamar has never played in a game this cold in his career. His coldest game was 22 degrees. It's going to be less than that. Your argument was, well, Derrick Henry, well, he's never played in a game this cold with Derrick Henry, so you don't really know how that's going to look. So, whereas Josh Allen plays in this temperature 4 times a year, at least. So, I'm going to lean with the team that's used to this, that deals with this, and that excels in this type of weather, as opposed to the team that has a quarterback who is unexperienced in this type of temperature.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the weather thing bodes better for the Ravens in this game.
You think
I think that helps them. I think it does. I think it helps them more. Again, for the Derrick Henry aspect of it. And Monken will be forced into establishing a run game in this game again. I mean, they did it last week. Obviously, it worked very well. I just think that having to tackle Derrick Henry is going to get really old really quick when it's that cold. Again, I think this is going to be low scoring. This game has flipped. That is actually my biggest concern about this, is that Ravens opened as 1-point dogs, and now they're 1.5 point favorites. So I
Sure.
don't love the flip because there is that trend. Um, so
I mean, I think
that makes me mildly
you.
nervous. However,
I think there's
I just
more.
think that the Ravens are just a better team, top to
They
bottom.
are okay. Let's. They are the better, well-constructed team. Okay, I'll give you that. However, this is going to be my argument now, and I was wrong. Lamar's coldest game was 27 degrees. Derrick Henry's coldest game was 22 degrees. Josh Allen's coldest game was 7 degrees. The feels like was -4. In that game, he went 21 of 25, and he threw for 308 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done it in exactly that temperature that we're expecting for Sunday. And on top of that, he did it very well.
Yeah. Again, I'm saying this from the perspective of, all right, let's call the quarterbacks a wash,
Sure.
which I think is fair.
I'm not disagreeing with you. That's not fair. But
I think the Ravens defense has been playing better football over the last, what is it now, 8-9 weeks
okay.
than the Bills have. Derrick Henry
I don't know if I agree with
is,
that
I think,
necessarily, but okay.
what's that? With the defenses? I mean,
Yeah.
I can find the numbers here if you give me a
I mean,
minute. I
I
can
think
pull up the numbers since week
yeah.
11.
Okay. You know what? Yeah. I'll give you that.
Um,
Because the Bills did let up 42 against the Rams, 42
yeah,
against Detroit.
yeah.
I mean, other than that, they've been phenomenal. But
Yeah, like I'm not saying
but those are
the
also like
Bills
two
have
of the
a
best
bad
off.
defense by any
So,
means. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the Ravens defense has been better over the last 2.5 months
yeah.
than the Bills has. Bills are saying, okay, this isn't the same team
Yeah.
that when they played in, what was it, week 3, week 4, whatever it was,
It was.
and
I just
they
looked
got
at
rolled.
before, and it was that game was also in Baltimore, so a little bit
Yeah, no,
different.
I understand that, but I mean, still 25 points is 25 points.
No, I get
That
that.
game wasn't close from the jump. Um, that was, I mean, the Ravens gave up 10 points to the Bills when the defense was bad.
That's fair.
So now the defense is actually playing well. In this game, especially with the weather aspect of it, I think that helps the Ravens defensively because Washington can kind of man the secondary a little bit and just kind of float and roam. I think you can match up 1-on-1 with all of their receivers. I think every one of the Ravens corners at this point is good enough to just play straight up on the Bills receivers, much like they did earlier on in the year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're able to just lock everybody down for the most part. And then Kyle Hamilton can either play as a spy, and you can bring him up, run pressure. Like, he's such a difference maker on that defense that allowing him, with the weather where you're not going to have to, in theory, worry about the pass attack as much.
Yeah.
Where he's going to make a huge difference containing Josh Allen when he tries to get out and run. I think that's massive in this game.
Well,
And there was another thought that I had there. I was completely blanked on it. Lost my train of thought. Again, and Zay Flowers, no Zay Flowers. I still feel very good about this team. The Ravens have been, I mean, since they've had Zay Flowers, I think they're now 5-0 without him. So,
no, you might as well just get rid of him at that point.
well, let's not get carried away here. I do like having him, but
No, I think I get what you're saying. However, I think you're kind of taken away from what Josh Allen is capable of doing down the stretch of games, and he will just take over. It doesn't matter I mean, he dominated the Chiefs defense, which is arguably a top 3 defense at times in the NFL with their boundary corners and their defensive front. And he took that game over. So I think regardless of how you feel about your defense, Josh Allen doesn't give a shit. He's gonna throw
and again, I'm not saying they're going to make him look like he
no,
did
no. But yeah,
earlier
what you're
this
talking
year.
about it is
Like,
you feel very confident in your corners who have been playing better down the stretch, however,
Yeah.
have also been shaky at times in this season. Very shaky. And at one point,
Yeah,
you
for
guys
sure.
had the worst secondary in the NFL
Yeah,
next to the Browns.
it's a tale of two teams, basically.
Yeah,
First
so
half
it's
of the
just,
year and second
we
half of the
need to
year.
hope that that continues and that the weather isn't going to mess them up this weekend. That's simply what
Right.
it is.
I think it's more of I think they're in a really good position to limit damage
Sure.
rather than you're not going to eliminate the threat of Josh Allen.
No, you're not.
That's not going to happen.
No,
But
I think it's going to be an interesting game. I
mhm.
expect it to be close.
Yep.
There's no such thing as a blowout with either of these teams right now.
Right.
I just think at the end of the day, the ball's going to swing in favor of Buffalo, and you think at the end of the day, the ball's going to swing in
I think it
Baltimore.
could come down to a poorly timed Josh Allen turnover.
But he hasn't. I mean, if he had been more consistent with turnovers all season, I'd agree. But he's been very good at not turning
He's
the ball
been
over.
very, very good. But I'm just saying, okay, who do you think is more likely? Even if we just went to okay, who's the one that's more likely to have a 4 interception game? Have the Justin Herbert game?
Neither of these two quarterbacks.
No, I know, but like if you had
I'm
to
not
pick
going to
one
pick
that
one
you,
because I don't.
which
think
one is
that's
going to be?
happening.
Which one would be less surprising?
I mean, they've both done it multiple times.
4 interceptions?
Lamar, maybe Lamar hasn't done it multiple times, but that's because different circumstances there. Because Lamar is going to throw 2, and they're going to stop throwing the ball.
Again, I'm just saying, like Josh Allen, regardless of this year, again, he's been fantastic this year. He's clearly eliminated his turnovers, but he's also the most turnover-prone quarterback since he's entered the league.
No, and I understand that.
So that's the only thing that I'm saying is that
I just don't see either of that happening. So, like, bring that
again,
up.
I don't see it happening. I'm just saying a timely or a poorly timed.
Yeah, you're also really bad at picking. So we'll see. I said you're pretty bad at picking games, so we'll see. Which is surprising. Yeah, well, you got me there. That's a first. Amen. All right, let's stop arguing. We're not gonna get there. Yeah, it's a coin flip. It's just whoever you prefer. That's tough. Well, but then you go back to the last time Josh Allen played in this temperature. He alone put up 35. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not. It's a tough thing because there's snow games where no points get scored, and there's snow games where every single time you touch the ball somebody scores a touchdown. So it's a coin flip sometimes with games like this. And with Buffalo, they've done it several times where they go into these games and they just rack up points like it's nothing. So it's just like interesting. I don't know. Over unders are tough with those scenarios. No, what's the over under? Well, what's the Rams Eagles over under? I think that's too many. There's going to be more. There's projected to be more snow in that game. That's why I think that's too many. maybe. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of points. Yeah. See, we thought that last week, and the high scoring game never panned out. Okay, before we get out of here, there's one point that I forgot to make in yesterday's game that I would like to talk about quickly today, and that is the Sam Darnold saga that has kind of encompassed this NFL season. We've talked about it numerous times over the course of this podcast, starting way back in like week 5, I believe, and a few more times thereafter. But it is officially finished. And even Kevin O'Connell came out today and basically all but confirmed that, because he essentially has hyped up JJ McCarthy, called him a great competitor. He's on the field throwing the ball, and I think he was quoted saying he's excited for him for next year. So that all but confirmed that, yeah, and they are doubling down on McCarthy. Now, Sam Darnold was projected going into the basically week 17 against the Lions to be the cream of the crop free agent this offseason. And then in his last 2 games, he looked like Jimmy G looks every single time he steps on the football field. Inconsistent, missing throws. Yeah, which is very interesting because I don't think you accidentally play the way he did for 16 games to have. Well, this is where I'm going. Yeah, I think, those last 2 weeks are certainly going to play a factor into his contract that he's going to earn this offseason. Because he's going to earn a contract, a multi-year contract for a team. I think he potentially gets at the worst a 2-year contract. Because what did Geno Smith give you in Seattle? And they gave him a 2-year deal. Well, exactly. Well, no, that was before that. Then they gave him a 3-year extension after they gave him an initial 2-year deal, and they brought him in. It, and Darnold showed him. Oh, he had played. He just had a starter at that point. Well, yeah, they made the playoffs. Yeah, he got a 3-year deal. Hmm. Oh, it doesn't matter. Um. So, but granted, Baker. It's a Baker contract. It would be the Baker. I think I think what you're looking at is like a 3-year 105. That's what he's probably going to get. 35 million. 35 million is at this point is not a lot for a starting quarterback who can put up 4,500 yards in a season. That's cheap. I mean, what Baker's making right now, it's cheap. That's a cheap quarterback contract who's producing at a higher volume than what you signed him for. So you want to bring in, if you can get Darnold, I think, for like a 3-year, $90 million deal, you kind of have to take it, especially with the way the quarterback class is. It's awful. What are you gonna do? You're gonna draft Quinn Ewers in like the 3rd round and hope for the best? No, you'd rather. 15? No, No, that's like what Justin Fields is going to get next year. It's more than 15. You want to bet? You want to bet right? Um, you want to bet right now what he's going to get? Well, let's make a friendly wager. I guarantee you he gets at least a 2-year deal. At least. Let Sure. I'm not saying it's not, but it's at least a multi-year contract because somebody is going to give him that because this quarterback class is not good, and if Arch Manning is not in the next quarterback back class, that is also not good. It's not as bad as this one, but it's still not great. So you're potentially getting a quarterback to set you up for 2 years to get you to the next great class, or you sign a guy for 2 years that that gets your team to that next boost. Somebody's gonna do it, whether it's Tennessee, whether it's Pittsburgh. Somebody's going to give him a 2-year deal. I don't know who. It could be Pittsburgh. Their only quarterback currently signed to this roster is Skylar Thompson. It could be Tennessee looking for an actual answer. It could be the Jets. He's not going to go back. There's no steam. The team organization came out today basically and said they have no interest in Rodgers. There is nothing. It's dead. Yeah, that Pat McAfee is plugging and that Colin Cowherd is plugging, but it's when reporters within the organization of the Steelers come out and say there's absolutely no interest, there's absolutely no interest. It's not like last year when there was mutual interest with Russ. It's not that. Because at the end of the day, Pittsburgh doesn't want a 42-year-old quarterback that causes problems. That's setting their he never got to 42. He never got there. But he was old. You kept forgetting. But and he set our team back. You're doing the same thing with Rodgers. So you don't want to go down that route. I don't think there's real steam there. I think it's the same shit with Dion. It's a lot of smoke. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to either be Fields, it's going to be Darnold, or you take a flyer out on a quarterback in the third round, you tank, and you see what happens next year. That's what it is. Yeah, I would, if I was a Steelers, I would personally do a multi-year contract, even if you're front loading it with guaranteed money, because then if he underperforms, you can draft quarterback high and cut bait. Any team would rather do that than sign him to a 1-year deal and have to re-sign him to a higher amount next year if he produces better, because it is a better decision for your organization at that point. We're not like the MLB. We're not in the NHL. This is run completely different. Where 1-year deals are up. It's smarter business to sign him to a 2-3 year extension or deal in this case. He's not getting extended. Where it's all front loaded, guaranteed in that first year, and if he overperforms, you don't have to cut ties. You can keep him and cut him if he does bad after that second year. No dead money. However, by signing a 1-year deal, and if he performs well, now you have to pay him at that higher rate instead of signing him for a 3-year, $90 million deal, which is cheap for a quarterback, like I said, that can throw 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns. That's cheap. If if uh, if this was if this was last year's quarterback class, I agree with you. It's not. I understand, and I don't see that happening ever because one, quarterback class is very bad. Two, there are many teams that need a quarterback for next year, so they will bid to get him. Period. So let's play this again. Mitch Trubisky in 2022 was a free agent quarterback. You know what he signed for? A 1-year, $10 million deal. You think Sam Darnold is only $5 million better than Mitch was back then? Again, but let's we look at but I think you're undervaluing him though as well. Okay, so I think then okay, well let's look at this. Let's look. No. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I would, but let's kind of talk this through. So if you, as somebody who is not in football, who is not a GM, has that train of thought, somebody else who is in an organization that has ties to a GM, who has say, does have that same thought as you, who has pull, whether it's an OC, whether it's a head coach, whether it's a GM, AGM, whatever, they're going to have those conversations. And I don't foresee at one point being like, yeah, 15 million. Maybe there are GMs that do think that. But if one person out there believes the same thing you do, which I believe there are several people that have that thought, he's going to elicit a greater contract than a 1-year, $15 million deal. Period. Even if it's a 1-year, $25 million deal, I think 25 is the base. I think 15 is a terrible number. Period. I think I oh they can't they literally can't afford Darnold. Period. I'm, he's not going to New York. He's not going back. He's not going back to New York. He does not want to. So Darnold also has say it. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, let's continue. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. 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 Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was fueled by the media, by like not Pittsburgh media, but the mainstream media. Let's just get that out of the way. Yeah. Let's if I say that I don't think okay. I don't think a lot of teams are thinking, "Oh, we're only a quarterback away." That's a very interesting way to look at things. I think out of those teams, the Steelers are the closest to. I mean, good quarterback play. I'm not saying Darnold necessarily. I'm saying good quarterback play. However, I think there's too much other stuff going on in Pittsburgh to even be able to say that. However, regardless, at the end of the day, I still think his play warrants at least a 2 year deal. Like you said, I don't know you because you are firmly believing he only gets a 1 year deal, barely making any money. I am on the other side of this, believing he's getting a multi-year contract with at least $30 million attached to it. Now we could both be wrong, and it's somewhere in the middle, where it's 2 years, 50 million. They're going to have more than that. So the they'll probably have at the end of the day, they'll probably have anywhere from like 75 to 80 million after some easy contracts that they can part ways with. I think are you looking at Spotrac or are you looking at okay that changed then for because they just signed Skylar Thompson. I don't know what else might have changed, but regardless, it was 52 the last time I checked. I I, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting factors in that. I don't know where Donald's going to end up. I think he's probably going to get a larger contract than you expect him to. Yeah, 100%. He's getting a 40 million. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, hopefully Arthur Smith isn't on this roster. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're just spinning in circles at this point. We'll see. At the end of the day, we'll see. I mean, nothing's happening to JJ at this point unless he gets. I mean, that's within a month essentially. Yeah, we're 2 months. we're 2 months away from free agency as of today. I think there is a lot that we'll know by the end of January or even first, second week of February. I mean, basically after the Super Bowl, we'll have a lot of things kind of answered here. Sam Darnold probably ain't going to be one of them, but we'll know whether or not at that time if Pittsburgh is planning to look outside of their current quarterback room for a quarterback. We'll have that definitive answer by then. I do too, just because yeah, it'll definitely be. Yeah, I probably agree with that. I am. It's not happening. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it would have to be more possible for both sides to have interest. And as of right now, the Steelers have no interest. If that can change, sure. However, yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of sure. However, it tends to be with Pittsburgh. There's not poker face. That's the one difference. If the Steelers say, "Hey, this person's a problem," they trade him. Hey, that's why I also kind of believe George Pickens gets traded this offseason. Yeah, yeah. So I, yeah. So the Steelers are pretty straight and narrow. If they say it, it's going to happen. Or if they say they're not interested, they're not interested. They don't even hide their draft picks. They're predictable. I predicted each one of their draft picks the last 4 seasons. I mean, Fatanu was a little bit of a wild card because I didn't expect him to be there when they drafted. That was the difference. But I knew they were going to take a tackle. You knew that, and you knew they were going. Yeah, Broderick Jones was the most obvious pick in that history. They had to trade up to secure him, and he's been awful. Everybody in the world knew they were going to take Kenny Pickett. Everybody in the world knew they were going to take Najee Harris. So they're a very easy team to know what they're going to do. They've been a little bit more unpredictable in agency. However, if drafting, they're very predictable. Well, the Patrick Queen was a bit of a wild card. It was very unexpected. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right, we're not talking. Let's. Do you do you have anything about this weekend coming up left to talk about? Not really. All right. All right. Beautiful. Yeah. Sure. You do that. All right. Let's get out of here.